Hello YouTube, how's it going? It's Professional here. Today we are reviewing the Oppressor Mark II, which was released as part of the After Hours DLC with Drip Feed. The Oppressor Mark II is an upgraded version of the Oppressor, but you do not need to own the default Oppressor to get it. You can get it for a trade price of $2,925,000 if you complete 5 client jobs with the Terabyte. So if you already own the Terabyte, then complete it so you can get a discount on this vehicle. The main difference between the Mark II and the regular Oppressor is that the Mark II hovers and can stay in the air forever with a jet engine, while the Oppressor glides. It also has more powerful weapons with an explosive cannon or 20 missiles, which are more accurate than the regular ones. While I did not find the missiles to be the same as in the Deluxo, they are better than standard missiles. Now, when I first purchased this thing, I was curious about its speed. I wanted to know, is it faster than the regular Oppressor? And I found something strange about testing this vehicle's speed. If you're up in the air, it goes between 85 to 87 miles per hour. So if you're flying in the air, between 85 to 87 miles per hour. However, though, if you hit the ground and you're hovering right over the ground, the speed increases dramatically. It goes from 87 miles per hour to about 126 to 127 miles per hour. So it goes a lot faster if you're hovering right above ground. So if you want to maximize speed with this thing, if you're like going over a highway, don't fly over the highway. Just hover right above it, very close to the ground. You'll go a lot faster. And then when you want to make tight turns, when you want to go over a mountain or some kind of obstacle like a building, that's when you want to fly. But if you intend to get across the map quickly, your best bet is to use it right on the ground. And the boost doesn't really help that much. The boost is actually pretty terrible in this thing. You actually, unlike the Oppressor, which just automatically recharges as long as you're on the ground, this thing, you have to slow down and almost come to a complete stop in order to regenerate the boost. So the boost doesn't really help that much. I barely see anybody really using it. Now, in a speed test between the Oppressor and the Oppressor Mark II, the Oppressor Mark II is a much faster acceleration rate, so the bike goes a lot faster than the standard Oppressor, and it has a faster top speed. However, though, if you use the boost on the Oppressor, you can easily catch up to it. But if the regular Oppressor was not using the boost, this thing would beat it in a speed race. So right here, I'm on the highway. Regular Oppressor, it's still faster than it. If you just keep using the boost while you're on the highway, you'll go faster than this thing. However, no boost. In terms of just regular top speed, the Oppressor Mark II is much faster than it. With the boost, the regular Oppressor goes up to 150 miles per hour, so the Oppressor Mark II on the ground doesn't really have much of a chance of catching up to the Oppressor if somebody's using the boost. In terms of speed in the air, gliding for the regular Oppressor and then flying for the Oppressor Mark II. If somebody knows what they're doing on the regular Oppressor and they just keep going up and down with this thing when they glide, they can catch up and they can even pass the Oppressor Mark II. Even though the Oppressor Mark II is flying, if somebody knows what they're doing with the regular Oppressor, they can pass the Oppressor Mark II even in the air in flight. My friend right there, he had a 1-second head start there. He boosted and then I boosted a second later after him, and then I was able to catch up to him and pass him. So if somebody's flying this thing, they have experience with the regular Oppressor, they know how to keep gliding in the air with this thing for a decent amount of time, they can pass it. So the regular Oppressor, it's still faster than the Oppressor Mark II in the air even. Now, the Oppressor Mark II, you can spawn this thing with an MC menu. It actually counts as a motorcycle for some strange reason. Even though it's not even on the ground, it counts as a motorcycle. You can spawn it anytime with the Motorcycle Club interaction menu, so you can just spawn it right in front of you, no delay. And even if somebody is not in a motorcycle club, if they own a Terabyte, they can just spawn it right from the Terabyte. They just go to the Terabyte interactive menu, and they just spawn it right there, and they could easily get on it and take off, spawning it almost anywhere. It's a nice feature, but people could abuse this easily, especially in PvP situations. I also wanted to test how effective these explosive cannons were. I was pretty curious about that, and I wanted to test it in Headhunter specifically just to see how good it is for this job. And you know, the missiles are fine. They can complete Headhunter no problem. The explosive gun, you can also complete Headhunter with the explosive gun. I eventually completed Headhunter with the explosive gun, but it's not as effective as the missiles. The explosive cannons, it's better than the regular machine gun, but they have a very slow rate of fire, and it's actually pretty hard to hit something with this. I eventually hit this guy, but I think it was more on luck than on skill. I just started spraying it around until eventually I got him here. And then I take out the 4th target right here, and we finish Headhunter, and we get paid for it. So, the explosive guns on this thing, they have some pretty good range. It's not like insane range, but I was actually surprised. They went a little farther than I thought they would. I'd say they go up to like around like 20 to 25 meters. In terms of ammo capacity for the explosive gun, it seems that it's unlimited. A lot of people were saying that this holds 750 rounds, but I spent around 20 minutes shooting this thing, and I didn't run out of ammo for it. And you guys can see how many shots I've already fired here. Did not run out of ammo, no problem. And right now, I'm going to speed up the clip. This is not the actual fire rate right now, and I'm going to speed up the clip, but just a demonstration just to show you guys how many shots that I've fired off. And I don't seem to be running out of ammo. So when people say 750 that it only holds 750 shots. I don't really seem to understand that. Maybe it was before it was released, but now it has unlimited explosive cannons for this thing, and I don't really think that this explosive cannon is going to be extremely overpowered because it has a slow rate of fire and it's pretty difficult to actually aim with this thing unless you're completely stationary, but then you're more vulnerable. It takes 2 shots to kill somebody. Managed to kill my friend in 2 shots, and if you're in a kind of situation where you want to dive bomb somebody on the ground, it'd be actually easier to kill them if they're in a vehicle, but if they're just on foot, it can be a real pain to try to kill somebody. I was trying to kill my friend here. I was having a hard time hitting him. Eventually here, I finally get him after I slowed down and really carefully aimed my shots. But if you do that in this kind of a situation, you're going to be vulnerable. The other weapon on here, the missile launcher. The missiles I found to be a little better than the standard missiles, but they're not as good as, say, for instance, the Luxo missiles. If you take homing off and you're going to be aiming at somebody on foot, the missiles will work a lot better for you than the explosive cannon. And, you know, at first, it was a little difficult for me to hit a target, but then I managed to kill my friend 3 times in a row because I got the hang of this missile launcher, got the hang of how this thing handles, and I was able to start killing him. So if somebody masters this thing in flight, they master the agility, master the missile speed, how to fire it at what angle, they can really abuse this thing to get a lot of kills. I mean, I was able to kill my friend 3 times here in a row, no problem, without missing. The missiles on this thing have better tracking than the standard missiles, but it's not perfect like the Ruiner and the Deluxe. So in this test, I managed to miss the police helicopter, and then I was aiming at a ground target right here, and I missed that ground target as well. However, though, when I started timing my missiles, got a little bit farther, they started hitting the helicopter. So I found them just to be a tiny bit better than the standard missiles, but if you're going up like against another Oppressor, you're definitely going to have an advantage because these missiles, from what I've seen, they're a little bit better than the regular Oppressor missiles. Here, just to show you guys, I went up against my friend who was in a regular Oppressor. He tried to kill me, I tried to kill him, and this thing has countermeasures. It has chaff and it has flares, so that's a really big advantage on the standard Oppressor, and the missiles had no problem in hitting his Oppressor. He was trying to pull some maneuvers here. He was trying to dodge them. He managed to dodge a few of them, but in this case right here, he didn't manage to dodge this one. So they can blow up other Oppressors. If you actually get into a combat situation with another Oppressor, even though the regular Oppressor is better in speed and kind of better in agility and flight, this thing is better in combat. And it's so effective in combat that it can even take on aircrafts like the B-11, which is the best dogfighter in the game in my opinion right now. The B-11 has really great agility, and right here, he's actually so close to me. My friends, he's actually trying to lock onto me, and I managed to dodge the missiles, but it just shows you how close he is to me. And if he gets really close to me, he gets on one right angle, I'm dead at this point. So this thing, the Oppressor Mark II, it's so effective that not only can it attack ground targets and fight other Oppressors, but it could also take on other aircraft. Like if a helicopter went up against this thing, it would just get destroyed. Here I was able to eventually outrun all the missiles until they exploded, but even after the missiles exploded, I wasn't able to get up behind him. I tried to get up behind him, I tried my best, but he had such a good angle on me, I couldn't really do anything. I was trying to get up behind him, I was trying to get a lock onto him, but I really couldn't here. But he had a lock onto me the entire time, so other aircraft, beware. This thing's not only effective at engaging ground targets, but it has no problem taking on other aircraft. One way that I found to counter these things, though, is to go back to your yacht if it's close by and activate Yacht Defenses, because ever since the After Hours DLC, yachts will now lock on to Deluxos and Oppressors, including the Oppressor Mark II. And a lot of these guys, they probably won't realize that at first. They will think that the Oppressor Mark II won't be locked onto. They don't think that it counts as an aircraft, but they're wrong. If they go straight over your yacht, they will get blown up. So just lead them right back to your yacht. Chances are they don't know about this, and you'll blow them up easily. One thing that really annoys me about this vehicle, and a lot of other vehicles, they suffer from the exact same problem. If you choose to purchase another weapon, so let's say we choose to purchase explosive missiles, as we are in this case. We already had the explosive MG, we already purchased that. We get out of the Terabyte, and then let's say, you know what, we want to change from the missiles, we want to go back to the explosive MG. If you take it back inside and then you try to change it, they want you to pay for the same weapon again. If you pay for both weapons, you should be able to freely change them. You shouldn't have to pay to switch each weapon. That's a really big nuisance. I don't know why Rockstar doesn't get rid of that. That's such an annoying feature. If you pay for both weapons, you should keep both weapons. Now here finally we come to a damage resistance test, and I was really curious if this thing would actually shut off in midair. What I mean by that is if this thing would stall, because a lot of other aircraft, if you shoot up the jet engine of a lot of aircraft, even propeller planes, if you shoot up their engine, they get damaged and they start flying in midair, the engine starts shutting off. This happens to helicopters and almost every single other air vehicle. And since this thing has a jet-powered engine, I was really curious, if the engine gets shut up, will this thing shut off in midair? And from what I've seen, it doesn't. It can get damaged right here, and it is pretty damaged. switch, it's smoking, but it will not shut off. It'll keep flying, so it won't stall like aircraft. That's one good thing about it. Unfortunately, though, eventually after some FMJ shots, it goes down. I put 3 magazines of the SMG Mark II FMJ round into it, and I was able to destroy it. If a homing launcher goes up against the Oppressor Mark II and hits it, it'll actually blow up in one shot. So one shot from this, it'll destroy it, but this thing has flares, which will make hitting it more difficult. But in terms of explosive rounds, it takes 2 shots, so I don't recommend using the explosive sniper. It'll be pretty difficult to hit it anyways. And here at the end, we come to our pros and the cons. And the pros are, it can be spawned from the motorcycle club menu, and it can also be spawned from the interaction menu through your terabyte. So if you're in an MC, you can spawn this thing no problem in front of you. And this could be, you know, a good thing for using it in tough situations, but it can also be a bad thing because people could abuse this thing. If people want to kill other players with this thing, and like I showed you guys earlier, if they master the ability to hit people with missiles on the ground, they can just keep spamming this thing over and over and over again. And the fact that it has flares could make it a really hard target to shoot down. So the fact that it's able to be spawned from the MC would work for the driver, but it could also be a con for people that are on the ground and could make this thing kind of overpowered. It has accurate missiles. I found that they're pretty accurate. They're better than the standard ones. I didn't really see them being as good as the Deluxo and the Ruiner missiles, but they're still pretty good missiles. The Oppressor Mark II holds up to 20 missiles, same as the regular Oppressor. And it has an explosive cannon. You know, the explosive cannon, it's better than the standard machine gun. Fires kind of slow, kind of hard to hit, but if you're aiming at a vehicle, it'll be most effective at a vehicle. So if you're planning on engaging vehicles, the explosive cannon will be better for you. It can fly forever, so even though the regular Oppressor is faster than it, both on land and in the air, this thing, it can fly forever versus the regular Oppressor, which would have to keep gliding, so you'd have to keep heading up and down, up and down. For this thing, you wouldn't have to hit up and down. It can fly forever because it has a jet engine. And it has countermeasures. It has flares and chaff, but that can also be a con for the people on the ground. And the reason that I keep saying that is because this thing, it's very hard to engage. Pretty hard to shoot this thing down, so countermeasures definitely work for the driver, but you got to watch out for people on the ground because somebody can abuse this thing. They can really take advantage of the countermeasures, the missiles, and the agility on this thing to get a lot of kills. And just the fact that you can also spawn it from the MC. It can also fight aircraft easily. It has no problem engaging other aircraft. As you guys saw from that video earlier, my friend had no problem engaging me, and I was in a B-11, which is one of the best dogfighters in the game. Now, the cons are, it's pretty expensive. Even if you get the trade price, you're going to be spending close to $3.5 million with the upgrades. So it is kind of expensive. You have to pay to switch to weapons, which, you know, Rockstar really has to change this at this point. It's kind of annoying. If I buy one weapon, and then I buy a second weapon, and I decide I want to go back to the first weapon, I should not have to pay to change the weapons constantly. If I go inside, it should be free to change the weapons, to swap them out if I paid for both of them. Why do I have to keep buying them and rebuying them? Like, what happens to the weapon after I buy it? And then I just switch to another one? Is it just thrown in the trash, and then I gotta buy another one? You know, that logic doesn't really make much sense. And another con is that you need a terabyte to upgrade it. So you don't need a terabyte in order to buy it, but you do need a terabyte if you want to upgrade it. And it's slower than the Oppressor. So even though it's called the Oppressor Mark II, it's slower than the Oppressor, both on ground and in the air. On ground, it has a faster top speed, but if somebody uses the boost, they can easily overtake this thing. And in the air, if somebody knows what they're doing, gliding the regular Oppressor, they can pass this thing, no problem. And the last con is, this is my personal opinion, but I put it as a con here because I feel very strongly about this. It does not belong in GTA. I don't think that a futuristic vehicle like this should be in the game. This is not what GTA is about. GTA is, in my views, is about being a successful criminal. You know, running your own criminal empire, making money. Like, what is this? Why are they adding vehicles like this to the game? It's my opinion, and, you know, if you don't agree with me on that, that's fine, but I just feel strongly that this game is going in a completely different direction. Every time they add more futuristic vehicles like this, it's getting away from that crime element and going to some kind of over-the-top crazy action like Saints Row. The exact same thing happened in the Saints Row franchise. Saints Row 1 and 2 were amazing games. They were all about the gangs, and then Saints Row 3 went over the top, and then Saints Row 4 went more over the top with all these futuristic vehicles, and then they started adding crazy things like superpowers. I hope that GTA never gets to that point where they're going to start adding superpowers, but you never know. With them adding all these crazy futuristic vehicles, you never know what they could add next. So I hope you guys enjoyed my review. Let me know in the comments, what do you think of this vehicle? Do you agree with me? Do you think that this vehicle belongs in GTA? I don't. I think that it's changing the game too much. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this. Let me know what you think down below. If you enjoyed the video, drop a like. If you're new to my channel and you enjoyed my content, then subscribe. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care, everyone.